Hello and welcome to the Scotland Rugby News podcast with me, your host, Bruce Aitchison from Happiness Egg-Shaped, and Gavin Harper from Scotland Rugby News, the editor extraordinaire. We're going to get straight to it, but before that, a quick word from our sponsor. Scotland Rugby News is brought to you by S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com and upload your CV. With thousands of jobs across Scotland, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. Start your search now. Gav, great to see you. Interesting weekend, a loss for Edinburgh, a win for Glasgow, but we're joined by one of Glasgow's finest today, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, me too. I think they showed kind of championship credentials at the weekend, and obviously hopefully two more to go, but another big one against Leinster this weekend, and a chance to put right again that Champions Cup game.
Yeah, let's not waste any more time and bring in the one and the only Stafford McDowall. Delighted to have you with us, Stafford. Eventually, we'll not tell the viewers what's been going on, but good to see you. Hard training session today, being kept back for some penalty practice, maybe.
No penalties today. I think the wind probably stopped us from doing that. We got out there and then been sunny all morning. Then we got out there for training. The hail and the wind came from absolutely nowhere and kind of stopped things a little bit. So now we're inside and we're dry now, which is good.
Is there any chat amongst the boys about penalty kicks?
There was a few. We played like a little football game in the morning while we were waiting to warm up, and boys were saying, I was having a little discussion about who would be taking the penalty kicks and who'd be stepping up. So a few of the forwards, Jamie Batty was in there saying, it's easy, man, it's easy, I could do that. But, watching at the weekend looks tough.
I think there should be a gentleman's agreement before the game that the three kickers or whoever finishes at loose head, hooker and tight head at the end of the game, let them get on with it. Make it a real.
Said they want to go back to the old method where you just go from the 22 right in front until you get down to the props and stuff. That's far more entertaining than watching actual kickers kick one and not struggle with it at all. So, but now hopefully it won't come to that.
Nah, it's not going to come to that. So after the weekend, reasonably happy with it, obviously with result, but performance.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously knockout rugby is all. Everyone only looks at the results. So first and foremost, take the win. But I think it was good for us to be not. I think a few people were saying, find our mojo again and be back to Glasgow. But I guess there was a bit of that in some of the tries we scored were your classic tries that we look for and opportunities we thrive off. So yeah, it felt good. It just felt good to be back at home. It felt like an age since that Bills game where we'd had a chance to play at home in front of our fans, and we talked about it all week, and I think the boys relished in it, and I think the fans really enjoyed it as well. I think that's one of the loudest. We listened to some of the clips in the meeting today, and that's some of the loudest I've heard Scotstoun in the time I've been here.
It's class, and it's what a lot of folk get excited about. The idea of playing at home for you guys is obviously huge. Flip that coin this week. It's obviously a big deal for Leinster to play at home.
Yeah.
Has there been any chat about that challenge of playing away this week?
Oh, Franco got up. He's a smart guy. He knows what's going on. He gets up and he's like, look, guys, we've been here. This is the third time. You know where the plane's going to land. You know which hotel we're going to. You know what the food's going to be like. You know we're going to get on the bus and go into the tunnel. And he's like, it's nothing new to us. So he said we've played there just about as many times as they have this season, so we'll be all right.
What do you take, Stafford, from the two previous games? Obviously, the first one didn't go well, but that more recent one, you seemed a lot more like the kind of Glasgow of old. So how much can you kind of read into both games?
Yeah, it's tough. Obviously, the first one, you'd kind of like just to put it in the back of your mind and forget it. But to be honest, I'm glad they're that way around, that the most recent one we're more like ourselves and we fronted up quite a lot. So, look, I think if you go and watch the games, mainly in D, there's some big differences between the first game and the second game, probably in physicality. So that'll be something we'll look to do this weekend.
When you had your season, Stafford, there's always a point where not necessarily take a dip, but it can't all be plain sailing. The way Glasgow have performed this year, the consistency has been really high, and then there was a period just recently where things dipped, and we're not going to get into that now, but the boys must be absolutely relishing this opportunity. You've played at home, you get a win, semi-final against Leinster. I mean, motivation must be absolutely flying amongst the boys.
Yeah, I think so. I think especially because they've got, 2 overs this season already. It's a big game. It's a semi-final. Obviously, we've been over to Ireland and done a job there last season against Munster. So, yeah, look, especially after the weekend with a win like that, it really puts a spring back in your step. And we've had a really good couple of days of training as well. So, yeah, look, the boys are flying, ready to go. We came through the weekend with no new knocks and stuff, which is obviously when you talk about dips and stuff like that, we've had our struggles with injury this season. So yeah, I think just to come out the game a good win, a really good Glasgow performance, and no one on the medical table, it really puts a spring back in your step.
And for you, Staff, this year, you know, you're a big humble man, so you're probably going to feel uncomfortable when I ask you this question, but the last couple of years of, you know, you've been achieving that potential that we all knew you had, and you've had time in the saddle, you've had an identified leadership role. You must feel like now's the time for Stafford to step up.
Yeah, like I think kind of just me doing my role has led to that, just not trying to think outside the box too much, just trying to be the best rugby player I can be is kind of led to a lot of that. I think kind of not trying to do stuff that I'm not used to doing, I know that I'm not good at, has probably led to a lot of the kind of success I've had on the pitch is just doing what I know Stafford's good at and being able to execute that properly.
But there's a lot of boys in that team like yourself who contribute to others playing well. The team ethos at Warriors has always been a thing, you know, for years and years. But you guys, I'm sure you took as much pride in the Lions being selected to be Lions as they did. The team ethos seems really strong, and you're going to need that going into this game.
Yeah, definitely. Like I was obviously sitting next to Scott and Xander when it got announced, and I kind of knew in my head Xander was going to go, but obviously Scotty was one that we weren't really expecting as much. Like obviously we all know what he can do and how good he is, but even when you see his reaction, like he's shocked as well. So yeah, it was amazing, and I think hopefully the reaction video, it's not staged. That's where his genuine reaction is to how happy they are for their mates to be going.
Stafford, just on that, there must be a part of you that thinks, well, hang on a minute, this is going to be deja vu from last season. You know, you played pretty much all the games in the regular season, and then it must have been Hugh came back last year and got in the team, and you missed out. You know, the fact you've been involved in the quarterfinal, and you know, we can assume you will be involved at the weekend. How that must feel like a big kind of step forward for you as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like obviously missing out last year, I've had my hand injury at the start, and then not being able to get back in the team was really tough. Having played so many of the games, so just to be involved at the weekend was a massive step forward for me and my confidence, and I've been able to play these big games, having watched from the outside last year. So yeah, it's something I've relished at the weekend. It's something I'll hopefully get a chance to do again this weekend.
You obviously played alongside Sione at the weekend. How big a lift does he give, not just for the player that he is, but for the character as well? You know, he's always that kind of vocal leadership. You know, how important has he been kind of coming back in?
Yeah, he's massive. Like I think you see the way that he leads, the way that he talks, the way he brings energy and jumps around, and then also what he does with the ball is pretty special as well. So right across the pitch, like he's not some people are defensive leaders and attacking leaders. Sione's a bit of everything. He leads right across, and I think kind of boys get a bit of confidence when they see him on the team sheet and they know what he can do and bring those one-off moments and that leadership.
Steph, you know, you guys are the reigning champions. Is that something that's discussed? Because I think probably it's maybe a Scottish thing where we maybe talk ourselves down a little bit. You guys are going to Leinster as the reigning champions, so it should be shoulders back and chest out.
Yeah, no, I think it's not something we've discussed openly as a group. I think it's just something that everyone knows in the back of their head, that not to sound arrogant about it, but this is still our championship at the moment. It's something that we worked really hard for, and it's something that we're not going to give up easily and not going to let someone just take off us without a fight. So it's not openly discussed, but I think all the boys know what it means.
You talked earlier, Stafford, about going to Thomond Park last year and the job that you kind of had to do on Munster. Is there much that you can kind of draw from that experience, that the week leading up to that game, that'll help you with this week?
No, to be honest, like we've kind of stopped talking about last year a lot. Like you said there, Bruce, do you talk about being champions? It's something that we've stopped referring to last year quite a lot now because we don't want to get stuck in the past. We know, obviously, our quarter-final was the same at home, but our path to the final is going to be different, and potentially the final might be in a different place. We're not sure yet. So we tried to get out of kind of staying in the past and, we did this last year and this is the way it happened last year, because we know it's going to be completely different. We know everyone stepped up their game. So we've kind of stopped talking about last year. Obviously, it'll be in the back of your head, but it's not something we're focusing on.
Is the pressure on Leinster, Stafford, at home, out the European Cup, maybe underperforming, some of their big names? I mean, I'm not taking away the pressure from you, because of course there is. You want to go back to back, but is there a feeling that you're going there with a great shot and the pressure's on them?
I mean, this is what everyone says, isn't it? That the pressure's on them, and I guess after that European game, maybe they are feeling it a little bit. But like, there's British Lions and Irish internationals who have played in big games and in World Cups and Lions tours. So, like, I imagine they're pretty process driven. You don't know. Obviously, the mind does a funny thing when you lose big knockout games and you're expected to win them. Then it can be a tough place to get mentally recover from that. But they're world-class players right across the back line, especially right across the team when you look away from the Irish internationals into Jody Barrett and guys like that as well. So maybe they'll be feeling the pressure a little bit at home in front of their fans, and if we can turn that screw, then that will help us. But we know how good they are. We know we felt that in the last couple of months as well.
Yeah, I don't want to dwell, Stafford, on these two recent experiences too much, but what are the big things that you've taken away that you need to do better that you maybe didn't do in both those trips?
Yeah, I think the main one would probably be in our D, the difference between the first trip and the second trip. The first trip probably just lacked a bit of physicality, lacked a bit of edge to our D. Something that we're really proud of in the second trip that the young boys brought. We talked this week about kind of your Seb Stevens, your Jarrays, your Mackenzie Duncans that in that second trip really stepped up against a big physical Irish, a lot of Lions in that pack and played really well. So look, the mark has been laid down to maybe some of the senior boys this week to say, look, these 19, 20, 21-year-olds stepped up and did a job the last time we're there. It's up to you now. So if guys like that potentially aren't involved, then the senior guys have got to take it on because they've shown it can be done.
How important was that, the performances of Seb and McKenzie particularly? Did that give some of the, has that been a bit of a kick to say, well, actually, if we don't perform, there are young guys here who Franco clearly is not afraid of throwing in? Yeah.
So I guess we all knew they could do it. That's the thing. It wasn't a surprise to any of us. It wasn't. Yeah. We see them training every day. We see them training against us most of the time, and when they got their chance, there was no panic. There was no, Seb or McKenzie's been this week. It's like, no, like I see these guys every week in training doing really well and performing really well. And again, to know anyone in the 23, you kind of knew you were excited, not nervous that they were getting to play because you knew they were going to go out there and put it all on the line. So, it definitely gave a lift. It was definitely more of a, look, after that Champions Cup game, we obviously took a bit of a knock mentally. And then to see three young guys like that go out and just have no fear and go and take it to them, it really inspired a lot of us.
And that's another sign of the depth, not necessarily in the numbers, but just in the belief that Glasgow Warriors have got in each other.
Yeah.
What's the internal chat like? A rugby changing room, you obviously have a go at each other and there's a bit of banter, but I have the feeling that inside that Glasgow Warriors changing room, there's a lot of positive talk amongst each other, building each other up, focusing on strengths. Have I got that right? You've got a big smile on your face.
There's probably a mix of both. It's a typical rugby changing room, I'd imagine, with banter probably flying both ways. But yeah, look, I'd say especially after the weekend, like I said, there's a spring back in the step, and that's probably a cliche saying, but like we earned another week to come back in and play together. And I guess that's something Steno's touched on a bit, is for guys like Henko, for guys like Seb, Cancelier, we wanted to earn another week for them to have a chance to come into work on Monday and to see them again and get a chance for them to get out there and play. So we didn't want it to be their last time in a Warriors jersey or at a Warriors game on Friday night. So this kind of thing that Steno talked about, that's what's driving him on. So again, like, we're focusing on it now. We're not looking to last year. We're not saying, the only thing driving us on is defending our championship. It's more personal than that for us, in terms of we know we're a close group and the ability to kind of play for one another is a big thing.
It feels like there's absolute clarity of purpose for Glasgow Warriors in the way you approach the game. It's team first, individuals contributing. Let's get another game. Does that help take away a lot of the external noise of pressure and Scotland tour and Lions tour? Just Glasgow Warriors doing Glasgow Warrior things.
Yeah, you guys know Franco pretty well. He's pretty good at keeping us focused on the next job and down to earth. And he drives a lot of that culture from himself, him and Steno especially, and Sione. They'll drive a lot of that playing for each other and playing together. And we know as well when we're at that emotional level, that's when we're at our best. And maybe that was something lacking in that European game. The emotional level maybe wasn't right where it needed to be, but I think since then you've probably seen it in that second game and in that game at the weekend.
And Franco said at the weekend, Stafford, a few of the boys might be back in contention. I know Jack Dempsey's probably not going to make it this week, but you'd be glad to see likes of Henko and Jack Man back to save you having to have another go in the back row.
Yeah, it was great to see Henko back. I love Henko. I think he's a great person, first of all, and then a great rugby player. He gives us so much go forward, and he's a real kind of like follow me type of player, which is something I guess on Friday we needed, and he really produced, especially after not being able to play since the Leicester game, which feels like an age ago now. To be able to go out there and put in that type of performance for as long as he did was really special. And we were laughing. I don't think anyone's ever got their own chant before, and suddenly Henko gets one out of nowhere. So some of the boys on the bench weren't too happy about that when he came off. But no, I think it's what he deserves. He's someone who come in who, if we look at it honestly, some people didn't really think we should have signed him, and some people maybe were a bit unhappy about the signing. But you can't argue now because he performs every week, and you can tell everyone here absolutely loves him. So it was great to see him back. It was great to see again Jack Man back out there. We'll wait and see who comes back this weekend as well.
You mentioned playing at home and the noise and the atmosphere. This week you go away from home. You've got a really loyal band of supporters in that Warrior Nation. I don't know how many you're expecting to go, but obviously means a lot when you've got people at very short notice getting there by hook or by crook. A wee message for the Warrior Nation staff?
Yeah, obviously unbelievable on Friday night. I think you really got us through some of that defensive sets and early on in the game when they were applying the pressure. So just encourage anyone who can make it over to Dublin to go over there and make as much noise as possible. It's a big stadium, and you'll definitely be heard if you go there and make a lot of noise.
And ready to keep playing for another week or so?
Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, we'll see. We'll be off to Africa again if we are. So maybe there'll be a bit more deja vu if we end up back on the plane to South Africa on Sunday. But we'll focus on Saturday first.
Yeah, John Manson will be sitting in the corner on his laptop trying to book flights and getting folk there again.
I don't know what goes through Pump's head this week, what he wants to happen, whether he wants to be on the Sky Scanner on Saturday night or not. But we'll focus about that after the game.
I remember saying to somebody about Pump being in the changing room last year booking flights, and somebody said to me, surely he should have been more organised than that.
God, I'd love to see them say that to his face.
I know, I would never tell him that. I'll let them go on with that. Staff, listen, it's been brilliant to have you with us. Thank you so much. Well done on that win, but we're all behind you, and we hope you get one more and get a crack at that final. We hope it goes well for you. Thank you very much for joining us.
No worries. Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, awesome. Stafford. All the best.
Cheers.
Absolute class. Big man speaks well, Gav.
Yeah, very well. And look, he backs it up. He's one of those that, Stafford's story is well known. Like, he could quite easily now be out of professional rugby. And I think the way he's kind of grown into that team and the squad under Franco, you look at if Hugh or Sione goes down with an injury or is unavailable for any reason, there's no concern that Stafford is equally comfortable at 12, 13. And do you know what? Him and Tom Jordan, Franco actually referenced it after the game on Friday. Him and Tom Jordan have had to play a lot this season because both Hugh and Sione have been injured. But they've up until maybe that European game, and I don't think it was, it definitely wasn't their fault. They carried Glasgow pretty well in that midfield. So, look, having any team would be better with Hugh Jones and Sione Tuipulotu back. But Stafford's been great this season, and he was good. It was, and hopefully they can back up what they did a couple of weeks ago on Saturday night or Saturday afternoon.
I hope on a personal level for Stafford, it means Scotland tour to New Zealand and Fiji, and he can kick on because he is a leader. He's so humble, but he's so effective, and he makes other people better. He's one of those players that when he's in the team, he allows others to be better, and I think that's a real strength of his and sometimes overlooked. But so, what's your prediction?
Do you know, I watched Leinster on Saturday, and I wasn't convinced, but I'm also not convinced that they will play that badly again. I think it'll be tough, but so I'm probably leaning on the side of saying I think Leinster will do it at home, but there are a few factors in that I think they've got quite a few injuries. They're waiting to see on Josh van der Fleer. I think Robbie Henshaw's a doubt. Gary Ringrose is a doubt. So all of a sudden you take those three out. I know you can put Jordy Barrett in for one of them, but you start saying, well, they've no Caelan Doris. I think that's knocked them a bit. I think Stafford talked about the impact of the Champions Cup defeat for Glasgow, but I think losing Doris has affected Leinster. They don't look quite the same team without him. I think the crowd and actually the sheer size of crowd will play a big part. You know, when we were at Thomond Park last year and it felt really hostile, and whereas the Champions Cup game at the Aviva felt like it could have been a pre-season game because it was almost, it felt empty. So I think if there's a big crowd, it might actually help Glasgow sort of rise to that occasion. I think if Glasgow can get a couple of bodies back from injuries, they've got every chance. If they can get Zander would be the ideal one. The scrum really struggled against the Stormers, and I think that'll be an area that Leinster go after them. I don't think Zander's going to be right for this week, but you know, if you could get a couple of bodies back up front, that would certainly help.
I just wonder this time next week we're maybe talking about the pressure got to Leinster or how they rose to the occasion and their big players played big. It's so tough to call, and that's why we've got something to talk about. Listen, big fella, great to see you. Thank you. We'll catch up again, but great to speak to Stafford and get into the Glasgow Warriors camp ahead of such a big game. Last word from our sponsor, the Scotland Rugby News, was brought to you by S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, and head over to s1jobs.com right now and upload your CV. With thousands of jobs across Scotland, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. So start your search today. Speak to you soon, Gav. Great to see you. Thanks, my man.
You too, as always. Speak to you soon.